What if I told you that one season, one quiet roster shift, and one relentless competitor changed the entire balance of power in women's college basketball? Not gradually. Not over years. But right now, in real time. Because what's happening at South Carolina isn't just winning. It's not just development. It's not just dominance. It's transformation. Before we dive into the story, do me a favor real quick. If you love women's basketball, if you love deep sports stories that go beyond the box score, hit that like button right now. It helps the channel more than you realize. Subscribe if you want more long-form breakdowns like this, and I want you to comment below where you're watching from and whether you think South Carolina is winning it all this year. I read every comment. Now let's talk about how Alicia Tournabize and Madina Okot changed everything. South Carolina women's basketball lives under a microscope. Every possession is judged. Every win is expected. Every loss is dissected like a crime scene. This is what happens when you're the standard. When championships aren't goals anymore, they're obligations. And coming into this season, the pressure wasn't just high. It was suffocating. Roster turnover. Injuries. New faces. A target on their backs so large that every opponent stepped on the floor believing they had something to prove. South Carolina wasn't just playing teams, they were playing expectations, history, and the weight of being the program everyone measures themselves against. Early on, they were winning. But if you watched closely, really watched, you could see it. The questions people were afraid to ask out loud. Who controls the paint when the game slows down? Who absorbs the punishment when March basketball turns physical? Who becomes the immovable force when finesse stops working? That's when Medina Okot stepped forward. Medina Okot doesn't announce herself with flair. She doesn't need viral handles or flashy stepbacks. Her game is built on something far more intimidating: inevitability. Every rebound feels earned through force. Every bucket in the paint feels like it cost the defense something emotionally. She plays with the kind of physical authority that changes how opponents approach the game. Guards hesitate to drive. Bigs get pushed off their spots. Coaches start yelling at refs by the second quarter because they already feel the tide turning. Okot doesn't just fill the stat sheet. She changes the geometry of the floor. You see it in how teams start sending extra bodies just to keep her off the glass. You see it in how opponents get worn down over 4 quarters. And you see it most clearly late in games, when legs are tired and she's still moving people backwards. That's when South Carolina became dangerous again. But here's the thing, dominance alone wasn't the full answer. Because in today's game, size without versatility gets schemed against. Power without flexibility eventually meets resistance. And that's when the second piece of this story quietly arrived. Alicia Tournabize. No fireworks. No dramatic announcement. Just a presence. Alicia didn't come in like someone trying to prove herself. She came in like someone who already knew who she was. Her game felt different because it was different. International development teaches players to read the floor before attacking it. To let plays breathe. To punish mistakes rather than force action. Where Okot plays like a hammer, Tournabize plays like a scalpel. She understands spacing. She understands timing. She understands when to move, when to wait, and when to make the defense regret overcommitting by half a step. And that patience? It throws college defenses completely off rhythm. Now imagine being an opponent. On one possession, you're battling Okot in the paint, getting leaned on, boxed out, worn down. On the next, Tournabize floats into open space, extends over you, and finishes without rushing. Force meets finesse. Pressure meets poise. And suddenly, South Carolina isn't just winning, they're dictating how the game is played. This is where Dawn Staley's brilliance becomes impossible to ignore. Great coaches recruit talent. Elite coaches assemble systems. Legendary coaches do something rarer. They create environments where contrasting strengths don't clash, they compound. Staley didn't try to turn Tournabize into Okot or Okot into Tournabize. She let them be exactly who they are. And in doing so, she unlocked lineup flexibility that most teams can only dream about. Want to slow the game down? You can do that. Want to speed it up and still control the glass? You can do that. Want to protect the rim without sacrificing spacing? Suddenly, that's an option too. And that's when South Carolina stopped being just another elite team, and started becoming a matchup nightmare. Because in March, systems matter less than answers. And South Carolina suddenly had answers for everything. When games tighten, Okot gives you second chances. When defenses collapse, Tournabize punishes them for it. When opponents try to go small, they get overwhelmed. When they go big, they get stretched. There is no comfortable adjustment. That's what makes this duo so dangerous. Not highlights. Not hype. But the slow realization by opposing teams that there is no easy solution. And this isn't just about this season. This is about what South Carolina represents moving forward. International players seeing a place where their game is understood. Physical post players seeing a system that values toughness. Recruits watching how roles are respected and amplified, not diminished. Programs don't stay on top by accident. They stay there by evolving before they're forced to. Alicia Tournabize and Madina Okot aren't just contributors. They're proof that South Carolina is still ahead of the curve, still setting the terms, still shaping the future. So when people say these two changed everything, they're not exaggerating. They changed the identity. They changed the options. They changed what opponents fear. And most importantly, they changed what's possible. If you made it this far, hit that like button. Seriously, it tells me you want more content like this. Subscribe if you're ready for more deep dives into the stories behind the game. And comment below, do you think this is the most dangerous front court in women's college basketball right now? Because this story? It's still being written. And South Carolina is holding the pen.